Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga, and in this video we're going to look at 12 spooky titles for the month of October. You heard me right, not scary, but spooky. And we have a variety of titles that my hope is going to be things you'll not see on anyone else's list. This was personally curated by the GTP to help you find manga that you would like a bit of that horror feel. We have everything from B-level horror movie to kind of just things that are really short to zombies to things you're like, what the heck is even going on? And hopefully some of this manga would be at the edge of your seat, and even sometimes just that psychological horror as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and we'll dive into these 12 titles. Hopefully there should be something that you didn't anticipate that'll be on my list that you might want to check out by the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and first start off with a manga that's good for almost all ages. As you know, Halloween is really a time where there's so many kids trick-or-treating, and we don't just want to automatically go to, level 10 horror scary, where now your kid can't go to sleep at night because they scared themselves from reading a manga. So with that, I thought we'd go more on the younger side, but hey, this is my number 2 manga of all time. Highly recommend this for anyone, whether scary or not, and that is none other than Witch Hat Atelier. So with Witch Hat Atelier, you're following this witch named Coco here, and in the beginning of the story, a spell happens that ends up getting her mom to complete stone. And you're following her on this journey as she's now growing up, almost like a Harry Potter-ish, with these other girls who are trying to become witches, and then she's hoping to be able to find a way to cure her mom. There is a bunch of lore, world building behind the scenes. I cannot tell you enough how much I absolutely love this series. It's for ages 10 and up, and I completely agree with that rating. This is one that they're going to absolutely love for any kid, any adult should easily fall in love with the series. It's one of the best series that are currently out. Highly recommend it, especially for more of a spookier season. All right, now the next manga I'm going to go ahead and share with you, I haven't talked too much about on this channel, but I'd like to do a video once I get volume 7, and that is Shadow House. Now this is going to be for a little higher age rating. It does say 13 and up. I would agree with that. It says just for language, but I don't think there's too much language in this. But this is one of those ones that has that mystery where you're at the edge of your seat so often wanting to find out what's going to happen. Now you have this girl here who she is what they call a living doll, and then she has this other girl who's her shadow, and her job is to mimic her as much as possible. And you have it where this living doll gets a little more curious in this house and what is really going on in this house. And there's so much mystery in this story, and there's so much that is even revealed early on, which I appreciate. So by volume 3 or 4, you've already gotten enough of the mystery going on. You're like, oh, that's what they're doing. But wait a minute, what about this? What about this? What's going to happen here? And there's some darker elements going on that I don't want to spoil in this type of video, but trust me, this is one you're going to want to check out. By the time you get to volume 3 and 4, you should get hooked into its claws as you're trying to figure out what is going on. And now you have this girl where she's trying to survive just some kind of horrific situations going on, and there's all these other living dolls. What's going to happen to them? What happened to living dolls later on that we don't see them anymore? There's people that go to a certain house and then they never come back. So very mysterious, so good. I think there's over 20 volumes, but we're almost about to get volume 7 in English. So this is a series you're going to want to check out. Definitely spooky, definitely fantastic. All right, next up is a manga that I also did a review for, and I realized that we actually did reviews for quite a bit of these ones I'm going to show you. I didn't realize how much I like that thriller genre, but this is going to be Higurashi When They Cry, and I decided to show you the first 2 volumes because I believe the first 2 volumes is a good enough of a story if you wanted to end it just there. This is one arc that's complete, and it's kind of, let's say it's a choose your own adventure. This may not be the ending that you want, but you'll be like, wow, these 2 volumes alone are a 10. The manga as a whole, if you follow everything, I wouldn't necessarily keep it as a 10, but these 2 stories, this story alone in 2 volumes is a 10 itself, as you are on your edge of your seat trying to find out what's happening in this town, as every single of this festival 2 people die, and you're trying to find out what is going on, as a town has many secrets. So there's this new character Kei. He's now or Kai. He's now moved into this town, and he finds out, it's almost like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it seems like, where the whole town is in on the secret, and now this new person is trying to survive, and as he tries to unravel things, just things go horribly wrong. You don't have a massacre with someone with a chainsaw, but it is really scary as you're just, these horrific feels of like, is this person trying to poison me or not? Are they kind or not? What are they hiding? What is going to happen? I'm just like, wow, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for kids. My daughter has been wanting to read this because she likes that horror scary genre, and I'm like, you are not ready for this, honey. This can be intense. So that's my next one for you. I recommend at least the first 2 volumes. Read the first 2 volumes, and I believe you'll thank me. That alone is just phenomenal. It's a great series. Again, I did a review on it if you want to check out my manga review section, but highly recommend. This is great. Higurashi, When They Cry. All right, next is another one I did a review for earlier on when I started the channel, and that is Ajin. Now, Ajin in itself, wow, you follow this story with this main character where there's people out there that you don't know if you're an Ajin or not until you die. And then this idea of with Ajin is your main characters, people are a little wary of them. Ajins are very rare. And this idea that you can continue living over and over again. And the main character, you end up finding out in the very couple of pages that the main character himself is an Ajin, and now he is being hunted by the government and then others, and is just trying to survive. There are other Ajins in there, and this has one of the best villains I've read in a long time. It's just absolutely ruthless. As I said in my review, it reminded me of almost like Terminator 2. Now that's up to you whether or not you think that's horror enough or scary enough, but in the Terminator, just the main villain in 2 is just absolutely ruthless. No matter what you do to knock it down, it just keeps coming back powerfuler and more powerful, and it's next to impossible to defeat. And that's what I felt reading Ajin. I was to the edge of my seat until the very end of the story. It's complete in English. Kodansha is now doing these nice 3-in-1 volumes, so you don't have to just get the singles. But this was a great story that just had me on edge as I wanted to know what was going to happen next. Definitely not for kids, and again, you can check out my full review for more information. Shockingly enough, another one I did a review for. I'm seeing more of a common theme. I do like these type of stories, but this is Hell's Paradise. That is also complete. This is going to be on the shorter ones. I think there's 12 or 13 volumes, I want to say, for this whole series, as you're following ex-assassin or shinobi that was captured, and now he's being taken to this island that nobody seems to come back alive. So he is a prisoner. There's this girl here who's her samurai that is attached to him, making sure that he complies. And it's almost like the Suicide Squad, where we're going to let all these bad guys go out there, and they're going to go ahead and get this holy grail for us to be able to, this elixir of life. So as they're going through this island, you're just like, what is going on? It's so vivid, it's so powerful, and there's many times where I'm just in shock, as in it's just the horror of this place. The island is not what it seems, and they're just trying to survive. Excellent. Highly recommend checking out Hell's Paradise. All right, next is a series I have not talked about on this channel yet, and I read the entire thing in January. I meant to do a review, but for some reason I chose not to, and I haven't done reviews in a while, so I apologize. This is what I probably should have done for, but this is Doro Hedo. Now, this story here is very bleak, and definitely not for the faint of heart. This is absolutely not for kids whatsoever. But this series, you're in this city called Hull, and you're following this main character here in this, well, I thought the girl would be on the back, but she's not. But as we're following this story, the main character, Carmen, he is a human that's almost like turned into, has a head of a lizard, and he's trying to figure out what happened. Now, there's these sorcerers that go into the city of Hull, and they're just doing horrific experiments and practicing magic on these people. And the thing that gripped me the most was the world building, and then just the artwork itself. You just cannot stop, just look at the panels, and it has a story in the beginning that immediately hooks you as you're trying to wonder what is going on. Is the main character here, as when he'll bite someone, and then when he bites that person, there's like another body inside that checks to see who it is, and it gives them instructions. So that's where in itself you're immediately like, what is going on in this story? The battle of these sorcerers. The main villain in this is very intriguing. There's also a lot of dark humor. There's things that at times I'm laughing, which I'm like, I don't think I should be laughing, but I am. So it has if you like dark humor that's sprinkled throughout this, And a lot of people, this is on their top 10 best manga of all time. I wouldn't put there for myself in the top 10 of all time, but when it comes to spooky stories, absolutely this would be in the top 10. And again, when it comes to the world building artwork, you're not going to find anything as unique as this. Just the underworld, the devils, the sorcery, it's just, there's so much to unpack in this story that is not worth it I could do in just a short time with this video. But wow, if you're looking for something just grotesque, on the edge of your seat with a hook and a story that is just completely unique, you're going to want to check out Doro Hedo. Alright, next is a manga I have not talked about yet. I'm actually writing a script for it right now. I'm just waiting for volume 12 that I pre-ordered, and that is Dead Mount Death Play. Now, this story, you're actually following the main character here. It's a reverse isekai where instead of, dying and going to a fantasy world, this is a person who lives in a fantasy world, dies, and now he's in the human world, but he's taking his powers with him. And in his other world, he is a necromancer. This is a story that's definitely not for kids. Several of the volumes are shrink wrap. If it wasn't for 3 chapters where it just had way too much fan service, these 3 chapters, and then all of a sudden the manga stopped doing all this fan service. So I wonder if that's the artist, the author just listening to the fans, be like, man, this fan service just seems to be out of nowhere and doesn't really connect to the story itself. But it's like after the 4th volume, there's no more fan service whatsoever. But there's 3 chapters in the first couple of volumes that all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it's there, and then you don't have that anymore. But this is one of those stories, it reminds me of Lost, where I'm just wondering what is going to happen next. There's so many times where I'm like, who's this villain? Who's this character? The mystery behind him being a necromancer, be able to bring people back from the dead, and there's a secret society going on. This is one of those series that just keeps making me want to read more and more and more. I blast through this series really quick. I could not put this down, and I'm surprised there's not more people talking about this. So highly recommend. Again, this is not for kids whatsoever, but this has been an enjoyable journey so far. Okay, next is actually the first manga I ever reviewed on this channel. So if you check out that video, if you want to see old Scott where he really struggled before the new improve, I mean, we're still struggling here, but if you want to see the very beginning of the channel, one of the very first review video I did was for a manga I just finished and I wanted to try doing reviews, and that was I Am a Hero. Now, this story, this is a zombie apocalypse. It has dark humor elements in it, where there's times you're just laughing out loud. An example, the main character, he tries to think of his survival instincts as he's seeing a person being eaten. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to duck and cover. That's one of the things for safety. So he ducks and covers. And what happens is the zombie now goes and eats the person that was behind him. And for some reason, I was laughing, even though I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. But you're following this main character as he is trying to survive the zombie apocalypse itself. It was a very intriguing story. The artwork is very unique. I absolutely love the artwork in this. And you're trying to follow this character. He's trying to keep as much of society together how it once was. And he hasn't fully invested into what the world is now. So another example, he goes to a convenience store and doesn't want to steal items, so he leaves money on the counter anyway, so he still has a conscience. So if you're looking for a good zombie apocalypse stories, this is one of the best ones I have read for a zombie series. Absolutely phenomenal. Definitely not for kids, and I do have some complaints with the series itself if you want to check out my review for I Am a Hero. Okay, next is a manga that ranked in my top 10 of all time. And that is just because of some personal things with myself, as this is the most manipulative psychological horror manga I have read, and just it hit me in a way where I had to breathe. If you're looking for a manga that doesn't have very much dialogue, that you can read super fast the entire story, it's 17 volumes, but I think you could easily read this, on a Saturday afternoon because of how quick it is. That is Blood on the Tracks. I wouldn't recommend that because on Blood on the Tracks, the panels are just, with the artwork, is so so powerful. Again, like here for an example, there's no words, but you want to take in the atmosphere of what the author is trying to convey. So it's not one where you just want to look at that and immediately glance over. I recommend taking time to process the environments, what's going on. Why is she like this? Why is she looking at this when she sees these people. What's going on? In this story, in the very beginning, I would say by volume 1 alone, you'll know if this is for you, but you're following this boy who has a mom that is very, very controlling, very, very manipulative, and that's something I grew up with myself. So the dialogue that when it speaks grips you. There were times in this dialogue where I was hearing things where I was like, I heard this myself growing up. Almost the exact words. And that was really tough. So again, blood on the tracks. It's not for the faint of heart. It's definitely not for kids. But this is a very unique story. It just finished again with 17 volumes, but I think it's a fast read. This is one that's going to make you, after you finish the last volume, you're just going to want to sit and think. So if you're looking for like a psychological horror, you would definitely want to check out Blood on the Track. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about vampires, as I haven't done really vampire series yet. And this is going to be, this is our Dracula Midnight Children. Now this series, there's only 3 volumes out so far by Viz. They're in hardcover. This is from the same artist that gave us The Climber and Innocent. Climber is going to be coming out soon. Innocent is very good, definitely not for kids. This is definitely not for kids as well, on mature rating. This is more on the one that has more of some of the grotesque pictures. I'm not very much into the gory images on things, but this has some really spooky panels as you're following these children who are living at, I want to say it, there's not an orphanage, they're living at the school. And then Dracula has now come. And I believe they're trying to base as much off of this from the actual story of Dracula. And man, you can feel it. This is spooky. And then Dracula himself, I don't know why, but he looks like the ghost of Michael Jackson. So, which I thought was kind of funny. It took me out of it a little bit. But if you're looking just for a vampire series that has a lot of horror elements, kind of the really scary paneling, sometimes just grotesque in the paneling, and we're like, ugh. And then I just got to turn the page. Because I'm not really more of a horror for gore's sake person. I would recommend checking out Midnight Children, following that story of Dracula. And again, there's 3 volumes currently out, so it wouldn't be hard to collect. It wouldn't be hard to go ahead and read what we currently have. All right, we are now on to number 11. And if you found any value from this video, would you go ahead and just smash that like button for me to let you know that, hey, this is actually helpful. Let's go ahead and we'll talk about Summertime Rendering, which I also have a review for. This is a one that also had me at the edge of my seat. There's only 6 volumes total, so you can read this pretty fast. I got the lovely hardcover edition, which I thought was totally worth it by Udon. But this series, you're following this boy who ends up going back to this island. And on the island, things aren't exactly what they seem. And you're dealing with these, I want to say like these monsters, but like demons almost. I don't want to give things away, but where people can be cloned. These shadows are cloning people, and you don't know who is the real person. And the town is slowly being taken over by these people. Almost, let's say, like an invasion. Yeah, like the Marvel Comics, The Invasion. You don't know if the person you're talking to is the shadow, or if it's really them, because they can copy everything of that person, and then people are just dying left and right. I'll show just a rinse at thing on here, because I don't think it, really spoils it too much. But as you see here, one person is the shadow, one person's the real one, and looks like somebody might be dead. This is for a mature audience. It's definitely not for kids whatsoever, as most of these are. And again, I have a review for if you want to find more information about this. But again, this was one that just, I read through the whole thing. I could not put it down. Edge of my seat. Story very well done. You're trying to figure out what's happening on this island and how are they going to survive. And there's this time loop that when they die, they wake up again, and then they restart again, and they're able to change certain events as they're trying to find some way to survive this horrific situation. All right, and last, I thought let's go ahead and do like a B-level movie horror for this last one. And this one has just some images where you're like, huh? There's some crazy panels here. There's some times that you're laughing out loud, and there's other times you're like, what the heck is going on? And there's only 2 volumes total, so it's shorter too. But that is going to be Dementia 21. Now, I got this on Amazon, I think for $30. Pretty good deal. You can find this fairly affordable. I'll even put a link down below. It comes in this lovely box set here, but you're following this girl who is a home aid worker, and things are just not going well at the old folks' home. It's a collection of almost, there is one story that collects everything all together, but it's almost like each day resets and something different happens. There are times that it's just absolutely zany. There's other times where she's being eaten alive and does not make it, and there's other times that she somehow survives the situation, the horrific nightmare. There's times where it feels like a battle royale where people are dying left and right. There's other times where it's like there's an alien invasion. You never know what you're going to get with this thing. And again, like I was saying, like, that's a pretty spooky photo. But, you know, this is spooky too. This is even more spooky. So, gives you an idea of just the zaniness of this. It's just off the walls, B-movie horror. You're like, what is going on? But yet you're intrigued and you want to keep reading. There's times that I was laughing just hysterically, and there's other times where I was just like, oh man, is she going to make it? Oh, now we've reset again. So if you're looking again for like a B-movie horror, and I think this is a great collection, man, they did such a good job. FB with this, I forget those people for it. I apologize. I do know I think fantastic books. They did such a fantastic graphic books. That's right. Or Fanta graphic books. They did such a good job. Yeah. Fanta graphic books. I apologize for not saying that correct, being dyslexic. When I read it, it gets jumbled, so at times I can't read it properly. So I apologize for that. Yes. Very, very good. Would recommend checking this out as well. So, there you have it. That is 12 spooky manga for the month of October. I'd love to know in the comments below, what are some recommendations you have for spooky manga? Do you agree with this list? Hey Scott, we realized you didn't do anything from Doro Hedo. I don't have any of his stuff. I'm not really into, I thought I wasn't really into horror or really scary stories, so that's the reason why I haven't picked up any of his stuff. And when we're going through these books, I'm like, oh, I've actually done reviews for quite a bit of these. Maybe I like that genre more than I realized. But I think it's more like that thriller element. So there you have it. If you'd like to see more content like this, you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Helps others know about this community. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I hope I've given you just a little bit of value to help you find some manga that for you or a family member. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.